All right, so after probably one of the worst offensive halves we've seen in a while on both ends, and the only reason the Browns are even in this game, let alone winning this game, the Browns are winning, by the way. Um, was it 14-12? I want to say 14-12, because Cincinnati got the 6 points there. I think it is 14-12, but the Browns obviously winning this game, but they have scored no offensive points in this game, is what I'm trying to say here. The Browns have two defensive scores. One, a tip ball interception by Devin Bush that was returned for a pick six. Another one that was a fumble return for a scoop and score there. I don't remember who picked that up, but I think it was one of the corners that we signed from like the practice squad or something, because both Tyson Campbell and Denzel Ward are unfortunately probably out for the rest of the game. For sure, Denzel Ward, he's got a neck injury. I don't think he's coming back. Campbell, I think it said like some form of quad, maybe groin, maybe even shoulder. I don't know. But he's most likely out for the rest of the game. Denzel Ward is for sure out for the rest of the game. I feel like with a neck injury, you never really come back from those, especially, in a Week 18 game that really does not matter apart from, draft positioning. So, this is the reason why I am team draft a quarterback in this draft. I know it's probably not likely that the Browns are going to get Fernando Mendoza. I was really, really high on Fernando Mendoza. He looks like he's going to go to Vegas and go to the Raiders. So maybe Dante Moore. I think probably the Browns' best shot is to draft a Dante Moore. I can see them, picking up a Kyler Murray in free agency, but I would prefer to keep Shedeur Sanders. But after this week, and after that first half, unless he pulls something out of the hat that is completely a 180 from this first half of play, and it was, you think he had like 5 turnover worthy plays, had a fumble because he was just holding the ball. Like in NCAA 20, was it 26 now that we're on? But the new NCAA football game, there is, when you are, setting up your my player for like a road to glory type thing, you can pick how they hold the football when they run. And there's one really stupid one where it's like he's holding it like this as he runs like this. And it's really dumb. And, it's like, I think it's called like awkward or loaf of bread or something like that. And that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders was doing when he was trying to step up in the pocket and kind of scramble away. He was holding it like this. Of course, he comes and gets hit on this shoulder. The momentum kind of carries the ball out of his hands, and he puts it on the ground. And the Bengals do end up scoring on that drive. But I think it was Shelby Harris that ended up batting the ball on the extra point. McPherson misses it, and it gets blocked. And then I think it was Shelby Harris that did it both times. Harris gets his hand up, and Devin Bush, like I said already, returns it for a pick six. And it's just, if we lose this game, and I am, yet again, I said this last week, I'll say it again, if the Browns lose this game, it's only worse for their long term, their draft positioning and all that kind of thing. It's probably in their best interest to lose this game. But, if the Browns do lose this game, that's extremely disappointing and very, very, it's a nail in Kevin Stefanski's coffin. For an offense, that's a guy that's supposed to be an offensive coach, and we turn around and have a Super Bowl winning, Super Bowl caliber defense, and we turn around and have not one, but two defensive touchdowns in the first half against the Cincinnati Bengals offense that's one of the best in the league. And we lose because our offense can't get a first down, let alone get in scoring position. That's bad. And that's a nail in Kevin Stefanski's coffin. That's a nail in Shedeur Sanders' coffin. That's a nail for Like, everyone and I know Shedeur Sanders is playing without his top, three receiving targets, but Jerry Jeudy's still out on the field. Cedric Tillman is still out on the field. Isaiah Bond, who he's had a really, really good connection with the past few weeks, he's out on the field right now. But, Harold Fanon is out. Njoku is out. Judkins is obviously out. But, you got to find – that's the NFL. You got to build chemistry with other receivers. And right now, Shedeur Sanders on a mesh concept can't even find Jerry Jeudy wide open in the middle. And he takes a sack. And it's so dumb and it's so frustrating because I can see the potential in Shedeur Sanders. I feel like we all can. That's why most Browns fans want to keep Shedeur Sanders. But it's stuff like that where it's just like, why are we even bothering? When we have our window should be open right now. We should build a competent offense, not an offense that is going to take 3, 4, or 5 years to get in stride. And by then, all these guys that are on contracts right now are either going to be retired or going to be getting max contracts, which is something we can't afford if we're trying to improve the offense. So it's like, our window should be open in the next 2 to 3 years because, by that time, Mason Graham is going to be off of his rookie contract. Denzel Ward is only getting older. Myles Garrett is obviously only getting older, but he's probably got a few more years left in him. He's probably got 5 to 6 years left in him. In his prime, I feel like. Because Myles Garrett is still in his prime. And right now we are missing that window. And it's disappointing because, we only got Myles Garrett for so long. And we've wasted a lot of good years from Myles. We are wasting this year from Myles. And, all we really need is a competent offense. And this team is a Super Bowl winning team with a competent offense. With, the 49ers offense, who, let's say a tempered down, a step below a 49ers offense with, a Brock Purdy, a guy that can really, extend plays and make the necessary plays and maybe take shots when you need them to. That's the offense the Browns need. A competent offense that is able to put drives together and not keep the defense on the field the entire game. That's what the Browns need. Instead, we get an offense that struggles to get past midfield, and when they do, there's some holding penalty or a legal procedure penalty that pushes the Browns back, and then we have to punt, and then the defense just gets worn out, and we lose games. Right there. That is the entire Browns season in a nutshell. And our special teams are also not helping either because Bubba Ventrone cannot apparently teach his punt returners to not catch the ball inside the 5-yard line. So something's going on in that we just need to clean house. And unfortunately, we are only wasting time by cleaning house, but that's what we need to do. So I don't know. It's frustrating to watch this defense want to play one of their best performances of the season and stop a top 5 offense in the Cincinnati Bengals and watch our offense struggle against the Cincinnati Bengals defense that's not that good to get past midfield. Again, for probably, let's say, 2 years in a row now. Because, 2 years ago was Deshaun's last game. We all know what happened there. Winston comes in and, oh, look at that. The Browns offense looks so much more different. No crap, Sherlock. But then we go to, that was last year was the last game of the season, I think, too, in Cincinnati. So no one really cared. Bailey Zapp was in. No one really cared about that game. I don't even think I watched that game last year. This year, Browns offense has Joe Burrow. We look okay in week 1, but Schmidt, for whatever reason, I think it was probably just the nerves of being in his first NFL game in the regular season, misses kicks. Browns lose that game because of Schmidt. And since then, he's been really, really great, and he looks like a kicker that we need to keep for the foreseeable future. That was a rough game, and now this game, Browns defense yet again is putting on one of their best performances, like I said, and our offense can't get past midfield. With a quarterback that supposedly is supposed to be our quarterback for the future, and he's got 5, maybe 6 turnover-worthy plays, and I think only 1 turnover to show for it. But he should have thrown like 4 or 5 interceptions so far. And he's already got a fumble. It's only a matter of time. If you're playing with fire this bad, you're going to get absolutely burned. And, this Bengals offense is too good for you to be giving this many chances to them. Because eventually they're going to break one. And T. Higgins, what a great catch in the end zone. He makes a one-handed catch off of pass interference. If McPherson keeps continuing to miss kicks, I'm not mad at it. But our offense, yet again, has to capitalize on those opportunities. And we have not done that so far. McPherson has missed 2 kicks. One was definitely his fault, the last kick of the first half. And the other one, it was a blocked field goal. So if you want to put that on the Bengals kicking, I don't want to say offensive line, but the line, sure, we can blame that on them. Or it was just a good play by, I think it was Shelby Harris, I think. It was just good play by him to get his hand up and block that field goal. But regardless, that's 2 points that the Browns did not give up on touchdown drives. And we need to make sure that comes back to bite the Bengals, because it's come back to bite us so many times this season. And for it to not come back and bite other teams that we play against when they make those mistakes against us, that's going to be frustrating. And luckily there's not a game next week that we need to worry about breaking morale. But if Kevin Stefanski wants any shot of keeping his job, more than likely they will lose his job regardless of this game. But if he wants any shot, he's got to win this game. But yeah, that's my thoughts for the Browns, at least in the first half. I want to talk about the rest of the games in the college football playoff, because I was obviously, as an Ohio State fan, a little devastated to record anything these last few days, kind of processing everything, and the shock of the Ohio State season actually being over. I think I said that in the video. I'm like, I was not prepared for Ohio State season to actually be over. So that shell shock is kind of worn down, kind of cooled off. But it is what it is. Miami had a really good game plan, and it sucks, but what are you gonna do? But so the other games that happened the day after, of course, we had, we started off with Oregon and Texas Tech. I thought Texas Tech had a shot mid first quarter. I was like, okay, they got no shot. Their offense was bad, and their defense played good, and they just broke. And Dante Moore, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, Dante Moore didn't have a great game. That was one of the best defensive fronts that he's going to face all season, one of the best defenses in general that he's going to face all season. And he was just taking what the defense was giving him and just kept chipping away at that defense, and they eventually broke, and Oregon won the game, and they dominated, pitched a shutout against the Texas Tech offense. That was one of the more explosive offenses, but when you're explosive and someone limits those plays, you got nothing else. So, and Oregon's defensive front is really good for you. And, if Texas Tech is playing behind like they did all game, it's hard to chip away at a defense when you need plays down the field, and Oregon's like, okay, we know that you need those plays, so we're just going to limit them. And that's exactly what they did, and they executed to perfection on that game. But Oregon moves on to the semifinal. I honestly think that they're going to win it. I think they're my pick. Oregon, it looks really good. And the revenge factor against Indiana, who we'll get to in a second, that revenge game, it's really hard to beat a good team twice. Dang near impossible when your season is quite literally on the line and your back is against the wall. I love this expression. You cannot see the writing on the wall if your back's up against it. And that's exactly what Oregon is at. And, everyone's saying, oh, Indiana's the runaway favorite. Mendoza is the best quarterback ever since Joe Burrow. All these other things. And that might get to Indiana's head a little bit, and they might become complacent. And Dan Lanning is going to have his guys ready to go. So I cannot wait for that game. I'm going to pick Oregon. I think Oregon, it's really, really hard to beat a good team twice. We obviously know that of the first round. I'll get to that in a second. But really, really hard to beat a good team twice. I think Dan Lanning is going to have his guys ready. I think Oregon is not going to make the same mistakes they did against Indiana. They might capitalize on some of Mendoza's mistakes, and he's going to make mistakes. Mendoza, he's going to, and he's going to bounce back from those. But Oregon's, especially offensively, has got to capitalize on some of those mistakes, and they really did not do that in Autzen this year. So I'm going to pick Oregon to advance the national championship. Honestly, I think I'm going to pick Oregon to win the national championship, and I think that's really cool. Not only is it Oregon's first ever national title in program history, if everything goes according to my predictions, not only will that be Oregon's first national title in program history, that will also be 3 straight for the Big Ten. Awesome. So that's my pick. Oregon advances to the national championship. But Indiana, I want to talk about Indiana too. Indiana put a collar on Alabama and dog-walked them. Indiana knew that they were the better team, and Alabama was like, okay, our back's up against the wall, let's go. And Indiana said, that's cute, go ahead and sit down right over there in Cancun and be a good boy and let us walk right through. And they did. Indiana dominated in the Rose Bowl. It was so bad that I quite literally took a nap in like the middle of the third quarter and did not watch the rest of the game. I think I caught like the trophy celebration when I woke up. I think I caught like the end of that. But other than that, nope. Did not watch the fourth quarter. I really didn't have to. Alabama only scored 3 points. I think it was worse than the Oregon-Ohio State game by a score. I think Ohio State probably, dominated Oregon a little bit more, especially, in explosive plays and stuff like that. But Indiana drove down the field consistently and was just like, you're not better than us, and I'm just going to drive, and you're not going to do anything about it because Alabama is soft. We all know that. So they and Indiana proved them right, proved all of us right that Alabama was soft. And Oklahoma, you should be ashamed to be losing to that team because that was bad. Simpson did get hurt in the second half, which sucks. I'm not a Time Simpson fan, though. I think he probably should go back to college for one more year if I'm him. But as of like a few minutes ago, when I first started, I think I saw a offensive tackle for Alabama enter the transfer portal, and their top defensive end just entered the transfer portal. So we'll see what Alabama does. I think their run is most likely over as the top dog in college football, and I think even the SEC too. But we'll get to the top dog in the SEC. Let's see. So that was, of course, Ohio State and Miami. Miami moves on, and then Georgia and Ole Miss. Oh my God. This game was I was paying attention to it on my phone. I thought, Georgia kind of was, they were limiting. Ole Miss was getting a few plays here and there, but they couldn't really capitalize. So I'm like, okay, Georgia's gonna eventually get there. I don't even need to bother. I would check the score every once in a while, and it was close. I'm like, Georgia's gonna pull away in a little bit here, and then they didn't. And I turned it on probably middle of the fourth quarter. And I'm so glad I did because, whoa, Ole Miss beats Georgia and moves on without Lane Kiffin. And if you're Lane Kiffin, man, you gotta feel like the biggest idiot in all of college football. You leave an Ole Miss team that is now going to the national semifinal to go to an LSU team that didn't even make, or did they make a bowl game? If they didn't make a bowl game, they were on the fringe. They were 7-5 or 6-6 this year. You're going to that versus a team that just is now going to the national semifinal and has a really good shot of making the national championship game. That's got to suck if you're Lane Kiffin. And, maybe their magic runs out. Maybe it doesn't. And they go on and win the national championship. Unlikely, considering what's waiting for them on the other side of the bracket. I think the Oregon-Indiana game is the de facto national championship game. But, man, if you're Lane Kiffin, you got to feel real dumb right now. And I don't feel bad for him at all. So, sorry. But that is my playoff reaction. Oh, yes. Miami and Ole Miss. So I think for Miami Ole Miss is a really early pick for me. I think I'm gonna go Miami. I can very well see Ole Miss. I'm going back. I've been going back and forth on this. I think I'm gonna go with Miami because of their lines of scrimmage. I think they can get Trinidad Chambliss a little bit off schedule and a little bit gun shy and snake bitten like they did Julian Sayin in the last round with that offensive or that defensive line. But we'll see. I'm going back on that a lot. I think if it's the higher scoring the game goes, the more that favors Ole Miss. So we'll see. I think if it's like, 17-10, I think Miami wins it. If it's like, if the game gets past 20 points and it's a shootout, I think that favors Ole Miss. So it depends what game that goes or what, way in the alley that game goes down. But yep, I regardless of that, I think Oregon or Indiana wins the national championship. I think that's basically the de facto national championship game. But we'll see. Ohio State news. Lincoln Kienholz did enter the transfer portal. Aaron Scott also entered the transfer portal. If you don't know who that is, he was the guy. He went viral for taking an Ohio State jersey out of a Michigan backpack on his recruiting. His commitment stage. I forget what they call it. But like during his commitment, his top two were Ohio State and Michigan. He took out a Michigan backpack and grabbed an Ohio State jersey and committed to Ohio State over Michigan, which was really cool. But he is gone. I think that has something to do with Ohio State's cornerback coach going to Tennessee. So it would not surprise me if he ends up at Tennessee. Kienholz did enter the transfer portal. It sucks, but Sayin is a redshirt freshman, or this is his first year starting, so he's got one more year. I think Kienholz is a year older than him, I think. And he did already spend his red shirt at Ohio State. So I think if he would get started when Sayin leaves, I think he only has 1 year of eligibility left anyways. So there's really no point in sitting behind Sayin. So he is going to Louisville. I think that's a really good spot for him. A little bit of a lower classification school, but still a Power 5 or Power 4 school that is going to be able to be in contention for the ACC, which I think is a really good spot for him. So good luck to everyone that transferred out. I know there's a lot more. Jelani Thurmond, who did not get a lot of playing time this year, he's gone. And a bunch of other guys, our punter, I think, left. Our backup kicker left. So I think Ohio State's just kind of cleaning house there with Fielding gone, and they're gonna get rid of. They're just gonna clean house there. Ohio State did make an offer to, I think, they made an offer to a Big Ten kicker, I think, to see if he transfers out and comes to an Ohio State team that is in desperate need of a kicker. So, good luck to everyone that transferred out from Ohio State. Well wishes, no hate whatsoever. But that's going to be it for halftime. I've been on here for almost a half hour, so Browns game is already on by now. I'll see you at the post game.